The 4th of October 2011, 12 a.m. Linton, Indiana. It was bright, magnetic and pulling. I was in the woods of southern Indiana, and the light stunned me into submission to its magnetic pull. I couldn't move. I was frozen in time and place, suspended as though I were a piece of pear in a lime jello mixture. It has never left my mind, and I have frequent, recurrent flashbacks of the sighting.
The 4th of March 2013, 5:30 p.m. Sullivan, Indiana. Just had gotten our order from Hardee's restaurant and sat down. 3 or 5 minutes later I watched a single prop plane fly by in the west side window of the restaurant at an altitude of about 150 to 200 feet, flying NNW and most likely headed for Sullivan County Airport. It appeared to be flying extremely slow. Thinking in my own mind it had a headwind while assisting in the plane's lift, which I watched this plane for about 30 to 40 seconds. Then about 2 or so minutes later I decided to look out the window again, thinking I may see the plane still, and caught a view of a white color glowing object just above the tree line over a field from my position, and was further away compared to the plane that had passed by. I could almost make out the pilot in the plane. The object headed due west from a vantage point in a slow pattern and suddenly headed down toward the deck at about a 10-degree angle behind the tree line, and that's when I lost view of the object. All this took is about 15 to 25 seconds, and I wasn't able to clear my head enough to take a picture with my phone. I wanted to yell out in the restaurant about what I was seeing, but thought otherwise. I didn't want complete strangers to look at me like I was some sort of a nut. That's it, nothing glorious, but it certainly did not look like a plane. I have never seen a plane glow like that in broad daylight, and I have been viewing aircrafts of all kinds on military bases around the world for a better part of my life. Other note, I attempted to contact the Sullivan Airport Control Tower, but they do not have one.
Jasonville, Indiana. I was taking images on my phone of some chemtrails that I do so often, and upon reviewing images recently I noticed this blue glowing object. It's not very clear, resolution poor, but it could be simply explained by natural occurrences. Image taken May 13, 2013, 6:40 p.m. I have uploaded 4 images: 1, original; 2, cropped; 3, dark stroke filter zoomed; 4, plastic wrap filter zoomed.
Jasonville, Indiana, July 6, 2013. During the annual local fireworks display, I noticed a yellowish glowing object coming in from the west of the fireworks display, which was due north of my position. I had thought it was some firework being shot off from that area, although I hadn't seen any other fireworks during the fireworks display. That's most likely the reason it caught my attention in the first place. It seemed to be descending, then it seemed to move parallel to the deck, ground. It appeared to come out from nowhere, and it disappeared into thin air, like it did when it appeared. I didn't say anything about it at the time, but upon reviewing the video clips of the fireworks, I was surprised to have actually captured it for a brief moment when it disappeared.
Linton, Indiana. On the night of September 2, 2014 at approx. 11:10 p.m. I took my dogs out. I live in a rural area and noticed a heavy fog had settled in. To the northeast I noticed a red light low on the horizon in which I thought to be a small airplane. As a commercial pilot I hoped he didn't have to deal with this fog where he's going. Then as I looked at this red light I realized there were no other nav lights or strobes and the red was constant. I was still convinced this was a small plane and maybe the pilot hadn't turned on the nav or strobe lights for some reason. It appeared close enough that I should have heard an engine considering it was quite in my surroundings, but it was silent. At this time things got strange. An angular row of amber lights appeared below the red light to the right and the left, making a triangular shape. I quickly thought that if the mist in the air from the fog would refract the light it would make an X shape, not the shape I was seeing. I could be wrong. As I took my eyes off the object to get my wife, I looked back and it was gone. Not a light of any kind where it had been. I scanned the sky, nothing but stars.
2014-05-00301 p.m. Bloomfield, Indiana. Outside in afternoon, myself and spouse saw bright round object directly overhead that came from south. The object made U-turn, then made sharp turn, then disappeared. No sound.
The 18th of June 1997, 3:21 a.m. Duggar, Indiana vessel landed during storm and taken aboard. View things that I had never seen before. Aliens, aliens.
The 11th of October 2002, 8 p.m. Salisbury, Indiana. My family, mum, stepdad, cousin, my daughter, myself were coming home from having dinner around 8 p.m. in October 2002-2003. We live in the country. The driveway to our house is a mile long with woods on both sides of the road. It had been raining all afternoon. We were driving down the driveway, rain pouring down, hopped over the little hill and seen over to the left-right in the tree line a bright fireball bought the only way I can explain it. It was red, orange, yellow glowing. It looked to be about 1 to 2 foot of the ground hovering in one spot. We all saw it. We all were like, what is that? At first I said someone must have started a fire. But then who would do that, considering it had been raining most of the day, heavy rain for a couple of hours, and it was my property. I know I felt scared. I had my cousin stay the night with me. There was no way I was staying home alone. The last thing of that night I remember is getting out of the truck, running to my house, locking the door. Everyone in the truck was confused at what we were seeing. The next day, my stepdad and cousin went to check out the spot where we saw it. They said that they didn't see anything, not even a burnt place, if someone had started a fire. That's my story to this day. I still am trying to figure out what we saw that night.
The 16th of June 1964, 8:30 p.m. Linton, Indiana. I just wanted to make this as part of a collective record. I remember as a kid around 1964, my brother and cousins were playing behind my grandmother's house in Linton, iodine mononitride. I remember looking up and seeing a really bright flickering light. It seemed odd because it seemed to have color to it as opposed to stars. It seemed to simply be there, then it slowly started to move across the sky. Shortly after it started to move, it shot up at an angle with incredible speed. As an adult, this to me is significant in that back then there was nothing in the atmosphere. It was very high up, so there was no light pollution creating an effect. There was no explanation for this event. I am an ordained pastor and retired psychotherapist with my forte in PTSD and crisis, war trauma counseling. I believe in life on other planets because there is no other explanation for what I know I saw. I am now 61 and wanted to put into record. Thank you.
The 19th of June 1999, 11 p.m. Bloomfield, Indiana. 1981. I lived in Porter, Indiana, close to Lake Michigan. Indiana Dunes National Lake Shore. I grew up there. I was having what I thought was a reoccurring dream about the windows of my room glowing and growing out until the entire wall looked like it was gone. Kinda like looking through water. One night I had this dream, and in the morning I was in my bed facing the other way around, head to footboard, and my PJ pants are on backwards. I knew how uncomfortable those pants were, on backwards, and made sure they were right way round when I put them on, always. I thought it was weird but shrug it off. Again, I have the dream about the windows growing out, and the next thing I remember is seeing only what I can describe as a grey ballish, very much alive being. It was covered in something clear and slightly slimy. I felt as if it was being shown to me. I remember this so well because I couldn't figure out why I wasn't scared. Then I have this feeling of semi-consciousness that I know I'm not dreaming. That morning I woke up and my bed had a clear slimy discharge. I hadn't peed in the bed. I was a 15-year-old, Catholic virgin. This was from my vagina. I remembered the dream and I've never forgotten one detail about it since then. I did not tell my parents, because we were strict Catholic-going people. I gave that up, by the way. When I turned 17, my mom died from cancer. And I moved to Arizona for 1 year. During that time I did not have any experiences. I moved back to Indiana, to a more southern part. Greene County, Indiana. Bought 67 acres, and a 112-year-old farmhouse, with my then husband. It was during this time, 1990. Things started happening again. I didn't have the dreams of the windows growing outwards, but I was waking up in bed facing the wrong way or on the opposite side. One night I could not sleep, and I was outside on the porch swing, and in the woods of our land, I see a golden orb darting through the trees, and I feel like I cannot take my eyes off of it. The next thing I knew, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had gone out onto the swing at 11 o'clock. I have no recollection of all that time passing. I lived on that property for 6 years and many times woke up the wrong way on the bed. I live in Brown County, Indiana now, and I have lived here for the last 20 years. 4 years ago, I had the dream about the windows growing outwards, and this time I could see figures. I could see hands and legs and bodies, silhouettes of heads but not a face, and a light that made it hard to see. I then feel my hand coupled with another hand, and this feeling of, I know you. This hand was smooth, had no fingernails and seemed long cold. And again in my dreamlike state I thought, why am I not afraid? But in the morning I was afraid. Because I knew it was real. Nothing has happened since then. Thanks for letting me tell you. Ask me anything you want. No, I don't want it to be public.